This program deals with themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience.
The KTPF Community Talk Show is sponsored by Dragonos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghostly events, including Fright Nights, all-night investigations and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the KTPF Community Talk Show, recommended by Recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication. My name is Suzanne.
I'm Steve.
And we're here keeping the paranormal friendly on www.ktpf.co.uk here in Manchester, UK. For those of you who are new to the KTPF, Steve and I started this back in 2007, and our mission is to try and bring the paranormal world together. Okay, and in 2012 we decided to have a chat room with a difference, inviting you to engage in live friendly discussion with our special guests and hopefully a variety of investigating groups from around the world. Remember, we are a relaxed show with no pressure, talking about various topics, cryptozoology to UFOs, whilst encouraging our guests and you to share information, advice and most importantly friendship. Remember, collaboration, not competition. So although we do concentrate as much as we can on the investigating side of the paranormal, otherwise known as ghost hunting, the topics that have been coming up at the moment. What? Oh. It's alright, I'm being more like a telephone line. I beg your pardon?
It's something wrong with sound.
You look like... Hold on, let me just check something. There you go, my settings have been changed again.
Reset your settings.
Oh, yes. That's live stream. Sorry about that.
Hey!
Sorry about that. That was live stream's problem. Although we try and concentrate more on the investigating side of the paranormal, i.e. ghost hunting, it comes at times that the topics that are happening at the moment, that are in and now, do not actually lead into that sort of subject. So we try and cover a wide spectrum of this fascinating subject. So if you have any questions, you can use the live interactive chat room, and we will ask our guests for you. And you can call in and ask, or you can call in via Skype and ask for yourself, because our guest tonight is going to be via the telephone. So if you want to Skype in, then just give us your Skype details and let us know that you're going to call. So later on, or rather in a moment, we're going to have the rundown of the observations from Steve. We are on a strict time scale tonight with our guest, so he don't normally work on Sundays, so we're quite grateful to him for giving us his time. Don't forget, we also have the radio replay on our YouTube channel, which we'd like to say hello to our guests that are listening, or our viewers that are listening there. And also to those in the chat room tonight, which is Andy707, and the other 12 people or 11 people that haven't quite got into the chat room yet. Aggie's there. Good evening, Aggie, and Ace Paradox. Those that are in the chat room now. So if you haven't joined the chat room, all you need to do is just not log in, but just put in a nickname or something, and you'll be there. So hello, Steve, and all the best to you, Suzanne, and everyone else in the new year. And to you, Aggie, thank you very much. Right, as I said, we are strict for time tonight, so up until after the interview with Mr. Von Daniken, and we'll be...
Shush then.
All right, I'm just letting people know who's on, funny enough. He is a man that we never thought we'd get on the show, but he's graciously accepted. Now, the Swiss author, best known for his controversial work linking extraterrestrial influences to early human culture, with books such as Chariots of the Gods, Daniken is one of the main figures responsible for popularizing the paleo-contact, if I pronounce that right, an ancient astronaut hypothesis. So we'll be talking to him soon. So over to Steve for the observations. There you go.
There you go. And Andy's put another question there for you.
Okay, just to let you know, we've got Paul Lomas here tonight. He's an avid fan of Mr. von Däniken, so he'll be here asking some questions for us as well.
And Paul used to be a member of our team as well.
Yes, he did.
For his sins. For his sins. Okay, there's your first link, ladies and gentlemen. Start your engines. Hey. Right, here we go. Haunted Ozzy and Harriet house sells for $5.25 million. One of Hollywood's reputed most haunted houses has been sold to TV star Christopher Maloney for $5.25 million. Hang on. My computer went weird on me again. It suddenly jumped to the bottom. Leave you at the top. Here we go. Known as the Ozzy and Harriet house, the property will be forever linked to America's first reality TV couple, Ozzy and Harriet Nelson, who appeared in The Adventures of Ozzy and Harriet from 1952 to 1966. The show, which started on radio before moving to TV, was filmed at the house throughout its long run. It also features as the home of movie agent Ari Gold in Entourage. Piece of real estate been bought by Law and Order Special Victims Unit star Melanie, who must not be too concerned about the ghostly stories. Reports say that a model train that belonged to Ozzy that was known to turn itself on during the night, and the kitchen drawers would often be found open in the morning. Zillow reported a Hollywood Hills property was last sold in 2013, complete with a layout familiar to millions of US TV viewers from its time on the small screen with Ozzy and Harriet. The kitchen remained the same, as did Ozzy's wood-panelled retro pub room, where the spooky train could be found. However, developers have remodeled the interior of the 1916 house, which has 5 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a pool, 3-car garage, and the house boasts high ceilings, an open fire, and walk-in wardrobes in the master bedroom. Do you fancy it?
Yeah.
According to agent Eric Lowry, the house is no longer haunted despite its reputation. The thing is, can you get rid of a ghost just by changing things? I don't think so. Allowed to get the ghost a bit miffed for messing about with his house.
Mm-hmm. Next.
Bing. There we go. Next on our list, Martin Heff's Christmas ghost story, Drowning Phantoms in Britain's Most Haunted Flooded Flatland.
Oh yeah.
Can you drown a ghost? He asks. If we were to flood a haunted site with sea of deep water for long periods, would the phantom survive? There were questions I was asking one damp, dismal day earlier this year as I stood atop Barrow Mump in the gloaming, looking down at the vast new lake that was reflected in the silver evening light like mercury across a wide flat plain. This was before the emergency pumps had arrived in the booming bid to flush the Somerset levels of 2014. So the entire scene was set in an unusual profound silence. There was none of the usual traffic noise you'd hear in the ruined church at the top of Mump, just the sounds of far-off wading birds and soughing of northerly breeze in Sandstone Tower. And it was on that breeze that I heard a man shout the words, "Come on over." Those who know the levels and its many legends will realise why these words carried a northerly breeze from western Zoyland, sent a tidal wave of shivers down my spine. There are, according to those who study the paranormal, 2 ghostly sounds that are likely to hear on the West Country Great Flatlands. One is the clatter of galloping horses, the others as the words, "Come on over," quiet in an angry, rasping, desperate voice. Those are, I repeat, the audible phantoms, and you may hear on the levels. It is possible that you will see far more in the way of paranormal activity, because one area of Sedgemoor, as it's often called, is at the top of 50 most haunted places in Britain. And that would be because there was a big battle at Sedgemoor.
Mm.
And please do have a look at that later, because I have cut that really short. There's a lot more to that. That little one there. I find myself rushing. It's all your fault.
You're a little Russian, have you?
Yeah, a little Russian. Okay. The gas menagerie construction equipment destroyed by ghost. Here we go. There is a concept of Badlands, an area that seems cursed, haunted, or just somehow tainted, that draws bad luck, tragedy, and horror. Along those lines is a spot in Wisconsin next to Lake Michigan. WISN ABC reports that a brand new $500,000 excavator was driven off a bluff and into Lake Michigan. Excuse me. Yet nobody was found inside, and they have no clue who would have done it. As it happens, the patch of land being worked on has 3 different legends explaining why it could be haunted. According to the story, the ghost of long-dead factory workers or the spirits of a murdered family could be the culprits, but the best evidence says the ghost of drag racers who flew off the cliff could be the ones responsible for all the reports of activity in the area. While they were there drag racing, deaths on this land in the past. One confirmed incident happened in 1976 when 2 teenagers were killed and 2 were critically injured when they hit a patch of stump in a way that launched them Duke Boys style into the air and over a 200-foot cliff. They lay injured and dying for hours before police saw a busted barricade and found the car. Reports of this plot of land say you can sometimes hear cars racing by screams and splashes and cheers of onlookers. Bursts of hot air as a roaring engine bursts past you have been experienced by many, including paranormal researchers. While police say they have no leads, we're left with one prime suspect. Did a ghost bring this excavator to life and drive it over the cliff? Are the spirits on this land angry at the development and attempting to maintain their haunted home as is? Could the drag racers still long to drive machines into the night and dark freezing waters of the lake? Really interesting.
Mm. Next.
If it's going to be any of those, I would say it's a drag racer.
Okay.
Wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. There's your next one.
My next one is off to Epping Forest.
Ooh.
I bet Andy knows Epping Forest. Ghostly appearances, spooky sounds, and bizarre phenomena that seem to defy the laws of science are all part of a paranormal legacy in the wild corners of Epping Forest. The forest's size, density, and proximity to London have made it a popular criminal hideout for centuries, and its dark woods have likely been the site of many hidden burials. Stories and reports of ghostly sightings in the forest are a source of ongoing fascination, with many groups and organisations showing an active interest in spooky stories. In December 2003, an episode of Paranormal Investigations show Most Haunted was broadcast live from the forest as the crew apparently pursued the spirit of infamous highwayman Dick Turpin. Although he was born in Hampstead around 1705, Turpin is known to have opened a butcher shop in the Buckhurst Hill, and in his later life he was notorious for using the forest as a base for his criminal activities. He murdered at least 1 man in the forest, for which he was tried and hanged in New York in 1739. In the live broadcast, Most Haunted, Turpin's spirit apparently presented itself to Yvette Fielding and led the crew off the path and into the depths of the forest, forcing them to call a forest keeper to rescue them. I remember it well. They had originally been filming at Lawton Camp, an area of the forest that Turpin used as a hideout and is notorious paranormal activity. The site, which is just outside Lawton, is thought to have been used as an army base by the tribal queen Boudica, and this has led a number of people to think that the spirits and memories of dead soldiers have been left in the area. Alan Smith, member of paranormal investigation groups Parahaunting UK, said there is a possibility that certain emotions can linger. He said the stone tape theory suggests that the emotions and energy imprints itself on the surroundings in a magnetic way, like that of cassette tapes. That the camp would be an area of very high emotion, being a wartime camp, that there would be emotions going on of war, of people coming and going, and he added, you never know what you could find down there. There you go. Sure. Bits.
Do we have another one?
Here we have he mentions Hangman Hill in that one, which our John has mentioned to Andy quite a few times.
Mm. You'll have to listen to the live stream in a moment, Steve. There's talk of strange metallic noises.
What, again?
Yeah.
What? Now, the one I've got left is the one you wanted me to do after Eric.
Which is?
The BBC.
Oh, right. Okay, so you've done then.
I'm done.
God, I didn't think you had that many.
See, I told you.
You normally had more.
I told you I was rushing.
You're rushing.
Well, it is New Year. There's not much happened yet.
Yeah, I suppose so. Not really. So we're going to do the one that was pointed out to us earlier after we've spoken to Mr. von Daniken. We'll be speaking to him, or is it? I've got time to do it now, haven't we? Think about it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you told me you didn't want me to.
No, it's all right. That's because I thought I had less time. So.
Okay.
Right. Okay. If you want to talk about it, and then I'll do it.
I'll do it now then.
Yes. There is quite a bit to talk about.
There we go. Hovering green UFO spotted in BBC's New Year coverage. The New Year's Eve is always a peak time for UFO sightings, thanks to part of people floating up Chinese lanterns, but mostly thanks to the fact that everyone's absolutely smashed. But this year someone captured a generally eerie apparition which appears to be little green men.
Is that your phone?
Hi! Spooked!
You put the same code up, by the way.
Did I?
It's alright, I'll do it.
You do it, good.
Yeah. Go on, carry on.
He had me. I wondered what that was then, because I thought we'd all silenced our phones. Okay, here we are. Here we go. But this year, someone captured a generally eerie apparition, which appears to be little green men swooping down for a look at London's spectacular fireworks display. One YouTube commenter opinioned sagely, "It's not uncommon for UFOs to be curious about our lights and electricity." Who are we to say he's wrong? Other perhaps saner comments suggested that the eerie vehicle is in fact a camera drone. This may be a shade more likely than suggesting it's a craft full of green men from Proxima Centauri. And the BBC has yet to comment on the matter. But Nigel Watson, author of UFOs, the First World War, says, "What strikes me is that the UFO is whether the UFO is a camera drone or not, it catches your attention despite all the fireworks blasting off all around it. Perhaps they should launch a fleet of drones in future for New Year celebrations and forget the old fangled fireworks." Whatever stories, UFO stories and videos appear, you get furious skeptics flocking to either opinion that it's all rubbish. So why do they bother to read them and make the effort of commenting? Whatever people think, thousands seem to see them and read about them.
Right, I'm going to play this now for people to watch.
Yes.
And we'll see you after about 47 minutes, I think it is.
47 minutes?
No, seconds.
As I say, we can't do that. We've got to talk to Eric.
So we've been talking about this, though, haven't we, Steve? And
we have.
What we think it is.
Well, we'll tell them afterwards.
No, I'm just killing time between, now and Yeah, just us.
You think it's a drone?
We think it's a drone, so we're going
It's a drone, not possibly from the BBC, but from a private drone.
maybe a private drone thing. So this is what we think. But we're playing it for those that want to watch it. You can click the link if you wish. That's on the
Having said that,
on the write up to see for yourself.
We do think that the last green bit is more likely to be something completely different.
Yeah.
A lamp or something being caught in the camera.
Yeah. So, okay, there you go. So let's go back to the show. Bear with me. There we go. Hi, we're back. I don't know what you thought of that, but just to let you know what people have been saying about it on the actual on the actual YouTube. It's interesting. The camera drone possible, but then would they make sure it's not in view? Also, all footage is in front of wheel. Possible reflection or computer graphics, yet it only appears on one cam, and would you really make it obvious? At 1240, that is exactly the LED lamp. The camera has been set to a resolution so all outside lamps close up are dimmed in the way that they do not interfere. A perfectly long planned and timing event like that, would you place a cam with lights in view? Never happened before. The fact that this was on live broadcasts and behind wheel makes it interesting. Even a drone cam would not show up in that bright, as it would disrupt the viewing. UFO, yes. Alien craft, not sure. That's just one of the comments on the YouTube page.
Yeah, and Andy's put two things on here. He said maybe the aliens thought the fireworks were weapons being fired at them. And he said, I definitely saw the green one live on the night.
Yeah. So what do you think, guys? We've got a few minutes. We'll play that again for you so you can see it, I think.
Yep. Keep in mind before she does that, we actually, on our discussion that we had here, we thought it was possibly a private drone, because obviously if it was the BBC, they wouldn't have zoomed in on it.
No, this is it. So I'm going to play it one more time for you. Just playing it again for our listeners, our live listeners this evening that have tuned in to listen to Erich von Däniken. And if you're out there listening, we'd like to wish you all a Happy New Year. So just coming to the end of this segment. Okay, and just a few moments left. There we go. But you can see that for yourself if you click the link in the information box. Hi, good evening, we're back. Okay, so that's what everyone was talking. The green looks very close to the cameras. Yes, it does, Andy. Maybe it could be a flashback from the camera, you know, what it's like when you have an infrared.
It's also very different from the object that they were watching over the wheel.
But then again, like you said, Paul, take that for me. You work for a security company, don't you? And they've mentioned to you about watching out for drones and stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, we've had our heads up now for major events to watch for private-owned drones.
Yeah.
Trying to sneak into the events and record the events for pre-sale or onwards onto other people. Yeah.
This is it. Somebody might have wanted to get a bird's eye view. You never know. But I suppose the verdict's still out on that one.
Well, we'll have to look out and see if it turns up on YouTube.
Yes, definitely.
The bird's eye view, that is.
Yeah, the bird's eye view. So, what we're going to do is we've got a few minutes before we ring up, because I'm assuming he wants me to ring up dead on 8:30. As I say, I don't really like these strict callers. We don't normally get them, do we, Steve?
No, we normally have a little bit of leeway, but tonight it's.
But as you say,
it's a time schedule, and he is giving his time on a
up
Sunday,
for us,
which he doesn't usually do.
So what we'll do is we'll
play an advert
an advert for you while we
give him a call.
Give him a call.
Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
You're listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show with Steve and Suzanne Taggart, covering the supernatural, the paranormal, and other strange phenomena to keep the paranormal friendly.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back here now on the KTPF Community Talk Show with Erich von Däniken. So, good evening, sir.
Everybody.
Okay, and hope everyone can hear you okay. So, whereabouts are you at the moment? Where are you? Where are you?
Well, I'm sitting in Switzerland, in the high Alps, in the mountains, here in the Bernese Oberland.
Oh, it sounds good. Okay, so for those that have never heard of you, Mr. Erich, please could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, okay. In the meantime, I'm nearly 80 years old.
Really?
Yes. And in 1968, long time ago, I started with a book called Chariots of the Gods. And Chariots of the Gods was first the bestseller in Germany, in Switzerland, and then around the world. And in Chariots of the Gods, I said, some thousands of years ago, in the deep past, when our forefathers were Stone Age people, some extraterrestrials arrived here on our planet. Now, our Stone Age people could not understand what was going on, so they believed that these extraterrestrials must be some kind of gods. Mm-hmm. Of course, in reality, there are no gods, but our Stone Age people believed that the ETs were gods. And that's how it all started. Mythology, religions, and all kind of mysterious things.
Well, we had a question from Andy in our chat room, and he was wondering what was the first thing you noticed that first suggested that we'd had alien visitation?
Well, I was educated as a strict Catholic in a boarding school in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. And there we had to make translations from part of the Bible, from Latin to Greek and Greek to German. Now you have to understand, when I was a boy, around 16 years old, I was a deep believer in God. In the meantime, by the way, I still believe in God. I'm still one of those people who prays every evening. Mm-hmm. But my God of my youth had to have a few minimum qualities. For example, God makes no mistakes. Or God would never use a vehicle in which to move around from point A to point B. God is all over. Or, of course, God does not lie. And God is out of time. God does not have to make an experience and then he has to wait what the result will be. He should know it in advance. So, this was what I thought when I was young about God. Now, we made translations of the Bible. And I learned in the Bible that God had none of these qualities. God used the vehicle in which to move around from point A to point B. God made mistakes. God didn't know what was going on. He was not out of time. So I had doubts in my own education, in my religious education. And I wanted to find out if other communities in antiquity, they have similar stories as we have them in the Christian world. And that's how old it started all. So the beginning was the Bible. The beginning was doubts in my own education.
Right, okay. So you basically, as you say, you published this book in 1968, which sold many copies. And am I right in thinking it was translated into 28 languages?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Now, there was a lot of criticism about the book, with accusations to say that you made some of the stories up. You were called a blasphemer, a charlatan, even the Antichrist itself at one point by religious people. Do you know why this was, and how did this make you feel?
Well, of course, in the beginning, when I was young, and all these critics made me very, very mad. But that was really when I was young. In the meantime, I really don't care anymore. And of course, most of these critics were absolutely wrong. I am neither an antichrist. I am neither a person who is against God, so to say an atheist. Of course, I made none of these stories up. Everyone can control what is in Chariots of the Gods.
Yes.
So all these accusations were in fact wrong.
So do you still believe that humankind basically originated on this planet by extraterrestrial intervention?
No, we have evolution, definitely. I believe in the story of Darwin, more or less. We are the product of evolution. But in the beginning, in the very, very beginning, and there I mean some millions and millions and millions of years ago, life on Earth started because it was brought from outside. You see, the first molecule, what we call the DNA, was coming from outside because it was not the product of evolution. And later, in the long course of evolution, there were mixture between some extraterrestrials and between our humans.
Yeah.
At least in mythology and in religion.
Right, okay. Well, we've got one of your biggest fans in the hub with us at the moment, and I think he's got some questions for you, haven't you, Paul?
Yeah. Good evening, Eric.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. After the publication of the book, being it's over like 48, 47 years now, have you had to change some of your thinking or some of the questions that you actually asked in the book because of new evidence that have come forward?
Well, it's a never-ending story. Since Chariots of the Gods, I have published 33 continuation books. And of course, in every book, I try to bring more indications to support the case. Indications from archaeology, indications from mythology, indications from religion. So really, I could come up with hundreds of examples. What is new since Chariots of the Gods?
Right, okay. Right, well, we have another question for you from the chat room. Andy again. He said, what makes you feel, what do you feel is the best proof of alien visitation?
We have to differentiate between optical proof, I mean hard facts, and between proof out of the old holy writings. First, the hard facts. In Mexico, there is a place called Palenque. And in Palenque is a pyramid that is called the Temple of Inscription. And deep down, under the Temple of Inscriptions, in the year 1952, the Mexican archaeologist, Professor Dr. Rutz, discovered a secret tomb. The tomb was covered with a big slab. I mean big, it's 2.8 meter large and 3.8 meter long. So quite a big, one stone block. And on this stone block, you see an engraving. You see a man, he's sitting in a kind of capsule. He's bending forward, almost like a racing motorcyclist. He has something like a mask on his nose, and he clearly uses his two hands to manipulate some controls. He is sitting on a chair, and the heel of his left foot is in a kind of pedal. Now, outside the frame in which he is sitting, you see something like a linking flame. Now, optically, this is a very good indication. Of course, archaeology has always seen this picture from a different point of view. In the beginning, archaeologists said, well, it simply represents a ruler with the name of Pakal. And this is true. It shows Pakal. Pakal was the second ruler of the city of Palenque. And in archaeology, they said, Pakal is falling into the open mouth of a monster. So he is falling into the earth. And what comes out of his chest is just something like the living tree. Now, in the meantime, since 1952, since this was discovered until today, in the archaeological literature, we have 14 different possible explanations. And the newest one, made by Professor Stewart, and Stewart is the best epigraph. Epigraph means the professors who are able to translate Maya writing. Now, Professor Dr. Stewart says, now, it all has to do with cosmos. It is, in fact, Pakal, the second last ruler. But Pakal is not falling into the open mouth of a monster. He is going out of our planet, out from the Earth, out to the solar system. So the situation in explanation has changed. That's just the one part. The other part, we have, for example, in ancient Indian mythology, we have large books called the Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata has several different volumes. And in the 5th volume, it's called the Mausala Purva. There they clearly describe space cities. They say that there were 3 cities surrounding the Earth. The cities had different colors. Out of these cities, a smaller vehicle descended to our planet. The old Indians called these vehicles the Vimanas. Out of the Vimanas, the teachers from heaven came out. And in some cases, some of our humans were taken up there to these cities on the firmament. And these people who were up there described these cities. So in mythology, we clearly have description of space cities surrounding once our planet Earth.
Wow, that's something to take into. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about: why did we call them gods?
Well, it's just a misunderstanding. As I said in the beginning, there are no gods.
Right.
There is only one God, the almighty, gigantic being which nobody can understand, what we call God. And I am one who prays every evening to the God. But our ancestors, some thousands of years ago, they could not make a differentiate. They believed that these beings, because of their power, their lightning, their weapon, their possibility to fly, that these beings must be some gods. So the word the gods in plural is a misunderstanding from the beginning.
So when we look at Jesus Christ, he was a man, people say he was a prophet. Now, he managed to do things that gods would be able to do. He fed 5,000 people, 5 loaves of bread, 2 fishes, healed the sick, walked on water, etc. Could this man, Jesus Christ, be an alien being? And if that's the case, could it also be that all our whole religious experience is just that, extraterrestrial?
No. You see, the story of Jesus Christ is about 2,000 years old from now on.
Okay.
And the Jesus Christ story is the story of the religion, of our Christian believing and of our Christian faith. The Jesus Christ figure has nothing to do with the extraterrestrials I'm talking about, because these extraterrestrials were here some 7,000, 8,000 years ago, many thousand years ago, before Jesus Christ worked on Earth.
Okay. Now,
they're 2 complete different things.
Okay. Now, Dave Lloyd is in the chat room. He would like to know, do you think that the theory Anunnaki, came here and upgraded humans to mine gold for them?
Yes, that's true. This story comes from my friend Zachariah Sitchin. He has published several books. He died, unfortunately, 2 years ago, but we were good friends and we know each one very well. And Zachariah Sitchin made translations from the Sumerian cuneiform writings, and he has come up that some beings, which the Sumerians called Anunnaki, were here on Earth, and they used our forefathers as slaves. Our forefathers simply had to work for them, in some cases in a terrible way. I believe that this story is true, and Zachariah Sitchin's translation was correct concerning the Anunnakis.
Okay. Paul?
Eric, going on the Anunnaki and the Sumerians, has anybody still not come up with an explanation why Sumerian writing has been found at Pumapunku in the bowl?
Well, Pumapunku is in South America. Pumapunku is in Bolivia and is 4,000 meters high, 4,000 meters above sea level. I was there many, many times, and Pumapunku is definitely not made by prehistoric people. I mean, with Stone Age tool, you cannot produce Pumapunku. In Pumapunku, you find hundreds of prefabricated blocks. Prefabricated blocks means you need planning, you need writing, you need computers, you need the tools, because all these blocks you can put together like Lego stones. And this does not fit into the Stone Age people. In Pumapunku also you have some terraces, stone block terraces, and they have a weight of 800 tons. Now human at that time, Stone Age people, were able to move 800-ton blocks. Now the mythology, when the first Spanish conquerors came up to Pumapunku, they were Indians around, and the Spanish conquerors asked them, "What is this? What was this?" And the natives said, "It was not us, not our forefathers who made Pumapunku. This was done by the gods in one night." Which gods? What technology? I think still we have it to do with extraterrestrials. They made something which we would call today a base camp. Even mountain climbers go to the Himalaya, they make some base camps which they use for their deposit. So the extraterrestrials, with their technology, they use the base camp so that some of their technical equipment could not be attacked by the animals or by humans or whatever. And later, when the gods, the so-called gods, the extraterrestrials, disappeared, the natives started to construct around this original base camp gigantic temples. So in Pumapunku, we have two different things to differentiate. One is made from the so-called gods, the extraterrestrials, and the rest is made by the humans.
Yeah, Erika again, about the Sumerian writing found near Pumapunku. The writing found near Pumapunku, the Sumerian writing, the cuneiform. It's found in a bowl.
I have to interrupt you shortly. Am I talking to a panel in England or in the United States?
In England.
England. That's why I have a little problems to understand you sometimes. Please excuse me. I'm Swiss. I'm educated in Switzerland. My mother language is German. My second language is French. So my English is absolutely not perfect. So from time to time, I have difficulties to understand you. Now, you said cuneiform in Pumapunku?
Yeah, I've heard a tale that a bowl was found near Pumapunku that had cuneiform writing.
But not in Pumapunku. You see, cuneiform writing belongs to the Sumerian. This is in another part of the world. Pumapunku is South America. It's another continent. Cuneiform writings were never found in Pumapunku or near Pumapunku. Maybe some other writings, but not cuneiform.
Okay. Now, do you believe that alien abductions are happening?
Today?
Yes.
Yes, unfortunately.
For
some decades, I was always against this idea.
Yeah.
I found it completely silly and ridiculous. Why should something abduct humans? Then I met Professor Dr. John Mack. Mack, he died some years ago, and he published a book about abductions. John Mack was a professor at Harvard University in the United States, and he was the Pulitzer Prize winner, an absolute serious personality. And he has written a book about abductions. We have been in discussions many, many times together, and because of John Mack, I believe that really from time to time, some of us are abducted. I don't understand for what reason. I don't know what these extraterrestrials are doing with it. But obviously, something like this takes place, but only in very simple, single cases.
I believe you never believed this before.
No, in the beginning I never believed it. Before I met John Mack, I said, this is all rubbish, that's all garbage.
Okay. Now, in your book, The Gods Were Astronauts, you look at the Old Testament, am I correct?
Yes.
But you seem to have come to some different conclusions since your first book. Why is this?
You see, in the Old Testament, we have, for example, a prophet with the name of Ezekiel.
Uh-huh.
Ezekiel writes in the first person. The first person is an eyewitness. And he describes while he was captured in Babylonia, he saw a vehicle coming down from the cloud. And he not only describes how the vehicle looked like, he even describes the noise which the vehicle makes. He compares the noise with the thundering of a waterfall. Then he describes that the vehicle made a landing. Sand was blown up into the air. And then he describes the legs, the wings, the wheels. They were out of metal, etc. So I interpreted this story of the prophet Ezekiel as an extraterrestrial vehicle, while theologians, they see it completely different. I have good friends in theology. As I said in the beginning, I was educated in a Catholic boarding school for 6 years, led by Jesuits, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The theologians, they believe that Ezekiel simply had a vision. He saw the God, the Lord, sitting in his chariot. So that's a different interpretation of the same text.
Okay. Now, you also talk about the Fatima prophecies in your book.
About what prophecies?
The Fatima?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think happened? What do you think your theory is?
That's a long story. I tried to make it short.
Oh, you got plenty of time, Eric.
You see, Fatima was in 1917. And Fatima is a little village in Portugal. And there, 3 children had a vision. They believe that they see the Mother Mary, the Holy Mother Mary, because they were Catholic. Now, there are many apparitions in the world. Many people believe to have seen the Holy Mother Mary. But Fatima was completely different, because the figure, the Mother Mary, had told to the 3 children that she will come back every month at the same time. All this started in May 1917. So it continued in June, in July, in August, etc. And of course, always more and more people accompanied the 3 children when they went out to the field. And in October 1970, nearly 80,000 people were there on the field. And then of a sudden, a gigantic disc came out of the cloud. A disc in different color came down, descending to the 80,000 people, and then made a stop and return again into the clouds. So that's only one thing. That was not a visions. We have black and white pictures made by journalists from that time, published in the newspapers the next few days. But also, the white lady, the mother of Jesus, has given a secret to one of these children, to the oldest one. Her name was Lucia, with the order that the Pope should publish this secret in the year 1960. That means between 1917, when it happened, and 1960, there were 43 years. So the secret of Fatima went to the Vatican. And in 1960, in October, the Vatican, with different priests and cardinals, etc., they opened the secret of Fatima. Now, the Pope said at that time to a journalist, I cannot publish the secret. It would create a storm. Later, a cardinal, journalists asked them, what is in the secret? Why don't you publish it? Has it to do with the next World War? Has it to do with this destruction of the world? Then the cardinal said, no, it has nothing to do with the next World War. It has nothing to do with the destruction of the world. It has to do with our faith. Now you have to understand, for the Catholics, the Holy Mary, the mother of Jesus, went up to the heaven with her body. So to say, Mother Mary, for the Catholic religions, is the highest female up there in heaven. So if Mother Mary has given the order in the year 1917 to publish a message in the year 1960, and the Pope doesn't do it, why not? He should obey to his highest mother in the sky.
Yes.
Why is he against the order and say, we cannot publish it, it would create a storm, or it would create a panic? Because it was not the Mother Mary, the appearance. It was something extraterrestrial. But in the meantime, between 1917 and 1960, Fatima has become to a big pilgrim place. So millions of people are pilgriming to Fatima, and they adore and they pray to the Mother Mary. Now, of course, in 1960, the Pope understand that it was not the Mother Mary. Now, it is a fact he cannot publish this. It would really create a storm, because in between Fatima is a pilgrim place. It's all very complicated.
It sounds it. It sounds it. How come you take so long? I mean, how have you taken your time to investigate all this?
Well, I'm nearly 80 in the meantime. And I have a well-organized office, and I have so many people worldwide who always deliver information to me. You see, for example, in one of the books I showed hundreds of cave paintings. Then a lady from New Zealand wrote me a nice letter. Hey, Mr. von Däniken, wonderful your book with the cave paintings, but in my country, just near the place where I live, are much more impressive cave paintings. Why have you not published them? So I write back because I don't know them. Then a correspondence starts. Then I ask, what do you local archaeologists say? I need pictures, etc. So the information comes from all over the world. And of course, I always go on place. I do never publish something which I have not smelled and touched and photographed myself.
Right. And Andy's asking, can we assume that you've been working on this full time for many years?
Yes, this is my job, including Saturday, Sunday. I don't know what I should do at home on Saturday, Sunday. I always go to my office. I have a gigantic archive with about 200,000 slides from archaeological places taken all over the world. And to me, my work is not a must. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. He says you're very lucky.
Yes, I am.
Now, the ancient astronaut theory is something my husband Steve here believes in. But why do some feel that they have to lie about what they say are facts?
Well, you see, our society, generally spoken, our society is composed of two groups of people.
Yeah.
The one group of people is scientifically educated. The other group of people has a religious education. Now, the religious people, they believe, and it doesn't matter which sort of religion, they believe that God made everything. God made the universe, made the planets, made the plants and the trees. But as the crown of creation, God created us, the humans.
Yeah.
The scientific group believes that everything took place by evolution. But we, the humans, we are the top of evolution. Now, in both cases, if you look at it from the religious side, crown of creation, or the scientific side, top of evolution, in both cases, we think that we are the greatest. Something greater as us does not exist in the universe. So first, we do not like extraterrestrials. We don't want them. It's a shame for us. We believe that everything that exists on planet Earth, including evolution, happens by ourselves. There was no help from outside. So we don't want extraterrestrials. We try to deny extraterrestrials as long as possible. That's simply human. I understand this. And I also understand the critics, of course. I mean, in the scientific community, you say, between the stars, there are light years. And it is not possible to travel with the speed of light, so nobody could have visited us, even if they exist somewhere out there. This is the scientific point of view in astronomy. But in fact, in the meantime, we know it is possible to travel between the stars. We even know how it would work. I just don't want to explain it here. It takes too long. Or another group of the scientific community say, okay, we can accept that maybe there are life forms out there, but definitely these life forms would never look like us, never look like humans. Now, Mr. von Däniken, in his books, he says that these extraterrestrials, somehow they look like humans. They had arms and legs and knees and the face, etc. So the scientists say, this is all garbage. Again, generally seen from a point of view, this is correct. because evolution could have created incredible forms of life, forms which we cannot even imagine. But on the other hand, there is a theory called panspermia. Panspermia says that life was spread out in the universe in a certain section of a galaxy. And it all started because of these molecules, this panspermia. And again, in the old holy writings, not only in the Bible, in other holy writings too, it says God or the gods created humans according to their own image. If we look at it from the point of view of panspermia, then it is possible that extraterrestrials look similar than we, because we are simply the offsprings of them.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think they just say this to try and discredit it?
Huh?
Do you think they just say these sort of things to try and discredit it?
Of course, we always try to be the best. We try to discredit this as long as possible, but it will not help. We will live in a new generation, and more our brilliant astronomers will find other planets out there which are similar to our planet Earth. I mean, not too hot, not too cold, etc. And sooner or later, we will find the traces of life out there, definitely. Maybe on the next planet like Mars or something. I do not mean a high developed intelligent forms of life, but at least bacteria, primitive forms of life. And then we know the universe is full of life. We are just one little part of it.
Could you do you think that this could be why your theory hasn't been investigated further by others?
Well, worldwide, in the meantime, we have about 100 authors who have published books in the same direction. Among these authors, there are quite some scientists who have the same feeling like me, but seen from a different point of view.
Yeah.
You in England, for example, you have a brilliant mathematician. His name is Professor Dr. Chandra Wickramasinghe. I don't know if you heard of him. He comes up with the panspermia theory, and he says definitely we are the offsprings of some other life from out there. There are philosophers, there are NASA scientists who have criticized first the theory of Erich von Däniken. In the meantime, they join the wagon. So the situation will change, but everything takes time. It goes slowly on this planet.
Yeah. Now, my husband wanted to ask a question. He's given it to me because he's across the room. He said, what do you think are the chances of getting the Egyptians to give their permission to conduct a proper scan and an investigation into Giza and the Sphinx to see if the library can be found?
Yeah, I am sure that the library does exist. And I know Robert Schoch is the geologist who makes these measurements, and there are rooms beneath the Sphinx. Also, by the way, there are much more rooms in the Great Pyramid and under the Great Pyramid. Rooms which some 10 years ago, everybody said it is impossible that they are there. Now, in the meantime, under the Great Pyramid, a new room has been discovered with water inside, and in the water is a sarcophagi. Now, Herodotus was a Greek historian 2,500 years ago. He already, in his second book of history, he said that deep beneath under the pyramid, there is a room filled with water, and in the water is a sarcophagi. Now, Egyptologists did not believe Herodotus. In the meantime, we know he was right. And so are many other rooms in the pyramid, which we know that they exist. We know it because they are measured electronically. Now, if you say, we know that there are rooms in the pyramid, why don't nobody goes in there? Because it is not possible. You see, the shafts which go into these rooms are so small that no humans can climb in there. No. You can only go in there by robot. And this is done. I have many pictures in the meantime in my archive where I know that robots were in the Great Pyramid. Yeah, mach mal.
Wow.
So it's all complicated, and slowly, you see, this all again has to do with the Arab nationality. The Arabs are proud that the Great Pyramids and these great temples are in Egypt. Especially the Egyptian nations is proud. and they do not want that there was some extraterrestrial help. By the way, it is not my opinion that extraterrestrials made the pyramid.
No.
The humans did it. We always made the dirty job. But the help from the mathematics, from the tools, from geometry, the help was coming by the extraterrestrials. But the work was done by us. So the nation of Egypt do not like to hear that they were not the only ones who created the pyramid, that there was some help from outside. They don't like this.
No.
It's just the human egoism. We are the greatest.
Okay. Right, Paul?
Eric, it's Paul again. Just a quick question. Do you still think that the Great Pyramid is older than it said it is, and it wasn't built by Khufu?
Definitely, yes. You see, according to archaeology, the Great Pyramid was constructed by Khufu. Khufu is Cheops. That was about 2,300 BC, say roughly 4,500 years from now on. And Egyptologists believe this because they have very little proof. But the proof is not enough to support this. We have other indications. For example, in Old Arabian, there was an historian called Ibrahim Abdul al-Mas'udi. Mas'udi was writing about old Egyptian story, and he clearly says the pyramid was constructed before the Great Flood. Also, there is an old Egyptian writer called Al-Makrizi. Al-Makrizi also wrote about the Great Pyramid and said the Great Pyramid was constructed before the Great Flood by a king with the name of Saurit. And then he says Saurit is the same which the Hebrew call Enoch. Now, Enoch again is a story. Enoch was a personality which was taken up to the mother spaceship. Enoch learned the language of the extraterrestrials. He knew scientific methods from the extraterrestrials. They dictated him everything. And this is not an invention which just Erich von Däniken made. This is all written in the book of Enoch. He says that the teachers dictated him nearly 100 books about all kinds of scientists. So according to old Egyptian traditions, it was made by Enoch and his son. His son was the biblical Methuselah. By the way, Enoch disappeared in a fiery chariot. And there is another important thing which everyone can control. I said in the beginning that the Greek historian Herodotus was in Egypt about 2,500 years from now. Herodotus published 2 books about Egypt, history books about Egypt. And in his second book, you can control it, chapter 41 and chapter 42, 241, he says that he was in Thebes. Thebes is today's Luxor on the Nile. And there the priest showed him 241 statues. And the high priest explained to every statue a short story. So he told them who represented these stone statues. And at the end, the high priest said, these stone statues represent 11,340 years. At that time, the gods from the firmament were among the humans. Since that time, the gods have not returned. So this is written by Herodotus, the Greek historian. He's also called the father of history. Now, in archaeology, these dates of Herodotus were always ignored. I know of other old historians, for example, Diodor of Sicily, Strabon, Plutarch. These were all men who were all in Egypt more or less 2,000 years ago. And each and every of them, in their books, they give complete different dates compared to our today's Egyptology. In our Egyptology, the old Egyptian history starts about 3000 BC. But according to the old historians, it's about 14,000 BC. So there is a big discrepancy between the historians and our today's pseudo-knowledge.
Okay. Dave Lloyd is back. Would like to know if you think that NASA has a secret space program. It's said we already have a colony based on the moon and on Mars called Adam and Eve. Do you believe in this?
No, I don't know about that. I know for sure that the Americans were on the moon. I know the criticism. I know the stories where America is accused that they were not on the moon. It was all a fake. But I know some of the American astronauts perfectly. I knew shortly Mr. Werner von Braun. I knew other NASA scientists, and they are all very honest and correct people. No of them was a liar. No of them was a faker. I am absolutely sure they were on the moon. Now, if there is some sort of colony, I really don't know. I never heard of this.
Okay, and he goes on to ask, do you think the gods will return, and what do you think about
They will definitely return. Absolutely. You see, when the Spanish conquerors, that's around 420 years ago, when they first came to Central America, that was Hernando Cortes, the natives believed that Hernando Cortes and the Spanish were the expected gods. In the beginning, they all fell down on their knees. They believed that we, the Western people, were gods. Mm-hmm. The same thing happened in South America with Francisco Pizarro. The same thing happened in the South Sea with James Cook. You see, the British explorer James Cook, when he came for the first time to Hawaii, the natives believed that he was the expected god. So in the beginning, they believed he was a god. Later, they learned, of course, that he was not a god. So this idea of God to return is not an invention of Christianity. It existed long before Christianity. And what do we have today? I'm educated as a Christian. We believe that Jesus will return. But the Muslim society believes that their Mahdi will return. Yeah. The Buddhistic society believes that Buddha will return. The great Jewish community believes that their Messiah will return. So not only the old tribes who died out, still today in our living religions, we all wait. We all expect that some of the so-called gods or leaders will return. In reality, it was simply the extraterrestrials some thousands of years ago. They educated some of the humans. Some of the humans learned their language. One example is Enoch. And when they disappeared, when they went away, they promised to our forefathers, we will return in a faraway future. And this promise entered into the mythologies and into the religions until today. They will return. Okay. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I do my job. It's better to be prepared for such an event than to be completely shocked and to be crashed down when it happens. And it will happen.
He goes on to ask, what do you think of Nibiru?
Well, Nibiru is again a story of Zachariah Sitchin in his book. Nibiru is a planet which should surround our solar system in about 1,600 years. I am not a fan of Nibiru because if we would have another planet in our solar system which is invisible, which we have never seen, our astronomers would definitely have measured it, because another planet, visible or not visible, would destroy or disturb our gravities in our planetary system. We would know about such a planet. We have never measured such a planet.
Okay. Of all the books that you've written, since 1968, or 66,
yeah, 68, okay.
Yeah. What was the one you enjoyed doing?
God, it's always the last one. You see, you're always writing, and of course, with each book, you hope to become better, and you hope to make no mistake, and not the slightest mistake. So for me, it's always the newest book, which is the best.
Okay. Now, just before we go on to this other question by Andy, some would say when we die, we go back to our alien ship, which could be the heaven that the religions talk about. Where do you think we go when we die?
I have no idea. I am one of the believers that we will not die. I mean, our body will die, but we will continue. Our consciousness, or the religions say, the soul will continue. But I don't know where we go.
Right. And how has your thinking changed since your first book? And what do you think your biggest mistake was?
Oh God, there are many mistakes in the first book. You see, when you are young, you are very enthusiastic, and you believe everything, and you are not self-critical enough. So I remember in Chariots of the Gods, when I was for the first time in Egypt, I was 19 years old, and I was in Upper Egypt, and there is a little island in the Nile, and this island has the name Elephantine. And my guide at that time, he was a teacher in school in Egypt, he told me that this island has the name Elephantine because seen from the air, it has the shape of an elephant. Later, and I brought this in Chariots of the Gods. Later I learned that this was all nonsense. The island does not look like an elephant from the air. It is simply called Elephantine because elephants were living on the island. That's all. Or for example, in India, in Delhi, there is a wonderful temple, and in the center of the temple court, there is one metallic column. And this metallic column is not rusting. When I was there, that was in about 1961, it was still not rusting, and the locals told me, this is a metal which comes from out of place. It is not the metal which we have on Earth. I published this in Chariots of the Gods. I even showed a picture. In the meantime, this mad object is rusting. So what can you do? It was mistakes, misunderstanding, and many of these things happened in my earlier books, but not in the later books. I mean, at least from the fourth or fifth book again, I try to avoid every kind of mistakes.
Right. Andy would like to know, how do you feel about the Scientologists having hijacked your research and using it for their own religion?
Well, I'm not very familiar with the Scientology church. I know that they had a science fiction writer with the name of Ron Hubbard who had some ideas, but I really don't know their so-called Bible or their writings. I don't know much about them.
No, I don't. It's just something that he's come up with. He said something about that they seem to have hijacked your research and using it for their own religion or something. How would
I hope not.
Okay, that's how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've really gone through those questions, I must admit. He's just said they claim that we are descended from aliens, so they've taken your research and
yes.
You know, perhaps they're disagreeing with you at the end of the day. So at least that's another one that agrees with you. He goes on to say, and they funded the Ancient Alien show that you've been on, apparently.
You see, the Ancient Alien shows, in the meantime, they have 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And with many of these episodes, I do not agree.
No.
Because it's not what I say, it's not what is in my books. I only stay for that, what I say in the episodes.
Okay.
And I know my knowledge, but many other ideas have nothing to do with my knowledge or my sort of science.
I see. Okay. Well, anyway, as I say, you've really gone through these questions tonight.
It's wonderful. By the way, I don't understand. You are a radio station.
We're an internet show.
Oh, you're an internet show. Oh, great.
Yeah.
I hope many people watched and hear what I say. And again, I excuse for my lousy English. I have to learn much more.
It's going to be going out on YouTube, so other people, we get a lot of listeners on YouTube as well. But as I say, we do have people that listen in the chat room and offer questions for our guests.
Okay,
so,
great. Thank you for the interview. We'll come together sooner or later again.
Yeah, David Lloyd's, just a couple of more questions come up. David Lloyd says, how come years ago people were said to live hundreds of years, almost as if our DNA was upgraded? Do you know about that?
No.
Okay.
We live hundreds of years?
Okay.
Like in the
Bible, in the Old Testament, we lived for hundreds of years.
Well, in the Old Testament, before the Great Flood, we had 10 patriarchs. They call it patriarch. And every of these 10 patriarchs, beginning with Adam, his son Seth, etc., then Lamech, Baruch, Methuselah, they all lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So we don't know if this is true, but at least according to the Bible, it is handed down like this. And on the other hand, you see, there is Sumerian cuneiform writings, and there is a so-called Sumerian King's List. The Sumerian King's List, by the way, you can see in the British Museum in London. It's a black stone, and the translation is next there. And there, the first 10 Sumerian kings also had incredible ages, just comparable to the 10 patriarchs in the Bible. So we cannot understand where these dates came together.
No.
Are they correct or not? We don't know.
This is it. Well, we're now in 2015. So what's next for Erich von Däniken?
I am continuing to writing. Of course, we try to make a lot of movies and shows, and I have some speeches worldwide. This year I will go to Brazil for a few speeches, to the North America, to Australia. I hope sooner or later someone in England will invite me, because with my shows you really see incredible pictures. Pictures from archaeological places which are never seen on TV.
And I believe is it the Chariots of Gods that's been turned into a computer game?
No, not yet. But
right.
Something like this is going on, yes.
Okay. And Ace Paradox has just popped in with the last question. Are there any mysteries you have investigated that you feel you have not found a satisfactory to?
Oh, yes. There are also many mysteries which I know from, but I never published it.
Right.
Simply because, you see, you have a scientist, for example, in Egypt.
Yeah.
And this Egyptologist shows me something deep beneath under some temple. And before we go down there, we shake hands and he say, please, Eric, do not go to public with it.
Yeah.
So I keep my word and I don't go to public with it. Because if I would go to public with it, the journalists would immediately realize, hey, this is a sensation. Then they go to the professor in Egyptology, and then he has to correct, and he has to say, well, Eric was telling a lie, or Eric was misunderstanding me, etc. And the whole friendship is gone. You never receive any more information. So that's why I myself know some things, some secrets, which I have not published until today.
Right, okay. Well, I'd just like to say thank you for your time. Ramon did tell us that you don't normally work on Sundays.
Okay. Well, thank you for your patience to listen to me.
That's okay.
Bye. I have to run away here.
We would love to get you back on again and talk about some of your other books
Hey,
later on in the year.
Just make contact with Ramon.
I will.
For the moment, I have to run away.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
You had to run away. And then he went all Italian on us. That was good, though.
Considering his first language is German.
I don't know. But, yeah, so that was Erich von Däniken. As I say, his time is restricted. So we're very, very grateful for his
Yes,
giving us his
Sunday
time.
is usually his day off, where he relaxes with family, and it was nice of him to come on.
Yes, it was. What did you think to that then, Paul? You've read his books.
Yeah.
Anything that you feel that he answered, or anything that you were not sure about?
No, it's more or less of what I've heard before. It's nice to get it from the horse's mouth, kind of thing. That what he believes and what he's working towards.
Yeah.
What about the Sumerian writing you was on about?
Yeah, maybe I was mistaken with the Puna Punko thing.
Yeah.
I think it was found just outside Puna Punko, Chichen Itza or something like that. There was a bowl found with some Sumerian writing on, and I'm sure if people look it up on YouTube and stuff like that, they'd find it. I will have a look myself just to double check on that.
Okay. Dave said he must have been very young when he wrote Chariots of Gods. I guess he's in his 80s now.
And he was 19 when he wrote it.
Yeah. So, but
as he said, he was young and made mistakes.
Yes, which he admitted.
Yeah.
You know, he was contradicted for it and ridiculed and God knows what else. But he admits that over the years he's found that he has been wrong, and he's admitted to that.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's also said that in Chariot of the Gods he put question marks. They weren't down as facts; they was down as questions, and people have decided that he was actually saying it was fact, and he actually wasn't. As you would know, if somebody's actually read the book.
Yeah,
Paul.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally ignored the question marks. Every chapter starts with a question.
Well, we'll be getting our resident oracle coming on today and giving his 2 penneth to let us know what he thought and about the answers that we get, because
it was you're just saying there. The trouble is you make one mistake and it's jumped on.
Well, this is it.
In research and
so maybe we could have our after show analysis from Andy. It's starting to be that way, isn't it? So, which isn't a problem if he wants to do that.
He is right though, because one thing's proved one, they tend to try and
pull the book to pieces,
to dismiss everything else, and instead of actually going into it properly.
Yeah,
they just see one thing because it doesn't agree with what they believe. They pull the whole thing apart.
Well, this is it, But as I say, we're just going to do our other advert. So we'll be with you in 2 minutes. Well, 13 seconds-ish. 20 seconds.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Paranormaleventsforyou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. Paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
Yeah, well, we're back on when I turned it up. We're back on live on the KTPF show, and we've got Andy Mercer with us to give us his post-show analysis.
Hello, it's me again.
Evening, Andy.
That was brilliant. I was really
Did you enjoy that? I was sitting here thinking, come on, Andy, hurry up back. I'm running out of questions. He went really through them, I tell you. I'd gone through about 6 questions in the space of less than 10 minutes.
Oh, dear. I'm concerned he doesn't know about how Scientologists have been using his research to back up their own theories about Ron Hubbard's invention. It really does. I'm surprised at that because as I was typing away there, he not so much in the more recent episodes, but certainly the first couple of seasons, he appeared on almost every episode towards the end, appearing to vindicate much of what the program has said. Now, having read Eric's stuff, I must do it a long time ago, but some of it I recognise as being the same stuff on the show, whilst other parts are quite different in terms of views and opinions. But he gave the impression that Eric was very much almost like a mastermind behind the series and was very much the man who validated everything they said. So that I'm a bit surprised he could perhaps get his lawyers to look into that, because I think slight defamation could be going on there. That did concern me a little bit. But yeah, absolutely fascinating listening to him speak. He'd mentioned previously about the South American tomb lid with the apparent alien spaceship on, the guy taking off. The one I was always fascinated by is called the Dendera light bulb. Dendera is in Egypt, and it's a carving, typical hieroglyph carving, that looks like a giant light bulb lying on its side with a pylon underneath powering it up. And I've actually seen that for myself, actually in Egypt. That was really quite fascinating. What it actually is, I don't know, but it is really quite an impressive sight, certainly. And you can look at that and look at some of the other things that Eric's outlined over the years and say, well, I think there's something to this. There's just so much of it. But yeah, no, it's brilliant to hear the old chap. Funny enough,
Andy, Paul, did you want to say something?
Yeah. Andy, going on about that bulb, Eric actually did an experiment with some scientists in Switzerland, and they actually built the bulb, and it actually worked.
Yes. I know there is, there certainly was, a von Däniken museum, and there is a working model of that light bulb in the museum. I've seen it on TV. I've not seen it for real myself, but I've actually seen the thing on TV as a working light bulb. But it's a pain in the backside to get in there, because there's a small hole in the floor you have to climb down to get to the lower chamber to see the light bulb. It's quite hard work.
So you enjoyed the Tonight Show?
Absolutely, yeah. We're looking forward to this. I was pretty damn amazing you said it was coming on. So
was I.
Andy, going back to the Ancient Aliens program, they actually did a full show of Eric as well on that show, which again goes towards your thing. They're stealing basically all his ideas and using them for their own purposes.
That's exactly my point. I mean, I love the show. I've got most of them on downloaded off the internet, but I've got most of them.
Apparently, it's starting again this week. Did you
starting on Tuesday? Apparently, a new series. Yeah.
Yes, I'll be watching it. When I was going out to London every day last year when I was training to be a teacher, it was a 45-minute journey, just enough time to watch whole episode. So I used to watch the train on the way in.
Watch it on your laptop.
You get to school teaching kids and your head's full of aliens and UFOs. It's quite an interesting place to be.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that gets you about that light bulb, though, is why build a light bulb when you've got no electricity?
Yes, I mean, I don't think it is a light bulb, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it is just a hieroglyphic and it's been interpreted as being as such. I mean, there are others that I've not seen actually physically, but I know of that look like an aeroplane, an aircraft. And there's another one that's very much like your good old UFO that's carved in Egypt. So I don't know what they are, but I would be surprised if they genuinely are light bulbs. But they are the sort of things that do raise those kinds of questions. And whilst I can't see there's anything concrete, absolute proof that's ever been shown, there are a lot of anomalies that we just really need some kind of explanation for that we just don't have.
No.
Yeah, it's very true what you say though there, but because we know of a light bulb, we associate it with such, and to them it could be something completely different.
But then you also go to the Baghdad battery as well.
Yes, another one. Yeah. That's another fascinating one. But the other big problem with that is, I mean, it can work as a battery, but it's very good for gold plating. Yeah. Now, as a battery for powering something or a gold plating device, both are pretty amazing. But so I find that one quite fascinating as well.
For a Stone Age people,
I'd be more inclined to say they used it as gold plating than But
I mean, electroplating, which you've only recently actually reinvented, if you like.
But at the end of the day, it's just a chemical reaction, isn't it?
Yeah. But for either one of them to have been using it to create electricity as a battery or to do electroplating, both of those are pretty amazing things to be doing sort of 3,000 years ago. So yeah, I mean the other one that I've found fascinating myself and read a lot about, and von Däniken did mention, is Ezekiel and his visions of the wheel, as it's called. I mean, there was a book written in the 70s that tried to use the description and tried to sort of design and build, not literally build, but build that schematics for a craft that would have looked like he was describing. And that was quite a fascinating little book, which I read years ago. I don't know what I've done with it now, but that was really good as well. But that was another one of those that you think, well, that is pretty strange. It very much tied in what von Däniken was saying about the idea of the Christian God being all things everywhere, and yet needing a craft of some kind to come visiting. It's just the two don't even match up. So I can agree with him there. That would start anyone really thinking, well, what's going on here? You know, we've got different versions of what God can do in the Bible, including needing what sounds like a spaceship.
Dave Loy's just said, I believe gold has a big part to play in history, used for many different things, including health and longevity.
Yeah. Excuse me, I've got a blooming nose. I'm stinking cold.
Don't give it to me. So, but gold it's got high value, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also used in the space program as well a lot.
It's the most highly conductive metal of all of them. So that tends to be used a lot for gold. Things they say out the space program, even down to your mobile phone's got gold in it because it is the most conductive metal. So it has got some amazing properties in itself, and it's an interesting material. It's nice to own lots of it as well.
So
yes. Sorry,
guess what? Go on.
I've forgotten now.
No. So you enjoyed tonight anyway?
Absolutely. I'm just scrolling back a little bit at some of the stuff that Dave was saying. What's that Hawass guy? Is that... yeah, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, no, sorry, I'm reading something wrong here. So
he's a big hitter, is he?
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I say, he's the man who really started the whole ancient aliens idea. I mean, it kind of been floating around, but he really brought it into the public's eye. And from sort of knowledge, I don't think anyone had actually written about it in any great detail. I mean, the idea has been floated before in older books.
Yeah, there was a French author prior to Eric that actually wrote a book. But it was all scientific kind of thing. A lot of people couldn't understand it. I think Eric brought it back to the common man.
Yes, exactly that. I mean, I think I know the one you were referring to, but certainly I read von Däniken's Chariot of the Gods when I was at school. Was like absolutely, I must have been totally convinced at the time, actually blown away by it. But other sort of questions started to come into my own mind, and just thought these great ideas, but there's nothing concretely descriptive. But having said that, I've still got one or two of these books floating around here somewhere. I know I have. I used to have a nice first edition of the Chariots of the Gods, which I picked up from some charity shop years ago. That was quite nice because it's worth a few quid, you know. It's still mass printed, but it's like a lot of these books. The first editions, they're not that many copies of. It just starts churning out more and more afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the thing that it's been republished over and over again, like we said, it sounds like it's a recently published book. Only
48 years old.
10 years old or something, but it's like 40 odd years old.
I mean, he's written something like 20 odd books, just actual books, not to mention the different translations. I mean, if you imagine the royalties alone for that lot are rather substantial. So,
I believe his latest book hasn't actually been put into English yet. I'm not sure. But don't quote me on that.
As the Remnants of the Gods is his most recent one.
Yeah, I was on about the gods and the wasn't it? Oh, it is in English now. I was reading somewhere where it wasn't in English yet. Oh, it was in his email actually from his publisher.
His most recent was from a bit of German.
His newest project. He wrote 2 books this year on in German only. They will certainly be translated into English in the next years. That's what he said. And he mentioned the I forgot to mention the Daniken legacy, where he first talks about UFOs. So maybe I can talk about that next time. He said he'd come back on. So
I was going to mention, the UFO thing. I was quite taken aback when he said about he changed his views on abduction.
Yeah.
I know he's been interviewed before, and I think I read that or saw it now. Where did I see that? What was that? God, it was a while ago. But he was questioned about that specifically. It must have been that long ago, and he said that that wasn't something he wanted to particularly discuss. He didn't really feel it fitted in with what he was researching, and wasn't that big a fan, shall we say, of that area. But yeah, he's obviously changed his mind. Did you know the chap he was talking about? I didn't quite catch the bloke's name.
What one?
The American scientist he was talking about.
Yeah, he'd been talking.
Oh, Mac, wasn't it? He mentioned a John Mac or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Does anyone remember in the chat room who he was talking about, the American scientist?
Yeah, apparently he wrote lots of books on the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what it was that he told von Daniken.
You mean, yep, Dave? Tell us who it was.
Who was it, Dave? Was it John Mac or something? I can't remember.
I'd like to know what it was that this chap said to von Daniken that convinced him, that made him change his mind. That's quite a change of direction, really. As you talked about before, I can certainly accept the possibility of ancient aliens visiting us. I'm not a big fan of the whole idea of abduction, as you know. So to go from one idea to the other, to changing your opinion on the second idea, I find quite interesting that someone make that bigger change. And I may have to be proven wrong, as you know. And if someone can demonstrably show me for absolute definite there was an alien abduction there, yeah, absolutely fine. I have no problem with that. But I've got my own explanation for what people really expect when they're being abducted, which I've talked about on here previously, of course.
Yeah, answered.
Oh dear. Now you're coming back on soon, aren't you?
I am indeed, yes.
Yes, and what are you? We had an unscheduled topic a couple of weeks ago because we were supposed to have had Lee Brinkley on, but he couldn't get to us for some reason or another, and we decided, Andy was great enough to stand in again.
He stepped in and did the Ripper thing.
Yes. But now you're coming on to tell us another side of the Ripper story, aren't you?
Yes, very much so. We talked in some detail about the case itself last time and real suspects, shall we say. And the most likely one, which we kind of talked about in name. But I thought we'd also, Steve asked a few questions about some of the more unusual suggestions, shall we say, about who the Ripper's identity was. I've done a bit more research since we talked about this, and I've come across another one which I find quite fascinating, and I'll talk about on the show. But basically it's looking at some of the more outlandish claims, the more wacky ones, shall we say, that range to say anything from sort of Freemason or royalty over to aliens and vampires being involved. And I was joking about the aliens, but what about vampires? Which would be quite interesting to talk about.
So you wasn't very joking about the vampires then?
Well, no, I was at the time when I put it on the Facebook page, but since I've been research, then maybe there has been a theory put forward, which I'll go into more detail next time about vampires. But yeah, so looking at the royal conspiracies, the Masonic conspiracy, the Satanic conspiracy, of which there was more than one, and just look at the wackier ideas, as including something about possibilities of one being a faked murder, and actually one of the people involved was actually faked the other murders in order to cover their tracks on something else. I mean, it's all complex stuff, but it's quite fascinating, which we'll definitely talk about next time. I will go through just quickly the basics of the case as well, just to bring you up to speed on what the hell I'm talking about.
Yes.
But yeah, should be fun.
Okay, that would be great. Well, thanks a lot for coming on and giving us your analysis again.
That's quite all right. I quite enjoyed it.
We enjoy you coming on and talking about it, to be honest with you. You know, and saying what you thought and some what do they call it? Post-show analysis. So, looks like that's your new job now.
That'd be in the hobby.
Unpaid, yeah. I don't know.
That'd be in the hobby week if I lived close to you now.
I know you would, darling. So, how long does it take you to get back from the bingo?
Oh, we're about 5 minutes to go as fast as we can. Very foggy down here at the moment, so you've got to be quite careful.
I
just wondering where my old sparring partner is tonight. Viscount's not around. Is he? You not heard from him?
No, we've not heard of him this week. I know we know last week he was actually working, but we've not heard anything this week. So he's in Manchester somewhere.
Who? Oh,
yeah.
The Viscount. Yes, he's popping over tomorrow Tuesday.
I think he's at his brother's.
Yeah, so somewhere in Manchester.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Well, next week, let me tell you what's happening while you're on.
Yeah.
We see the welcome return of the Reverend Lionel Fanthorpe.
Hey!
The motorcycling black belt ex-head teacher and Anglican priest. We're going to be talking about Death, the Final Mystery. Lionel and Patricia Fanthorpe have taken their investigative skills to those last moments of life and beyond, exploring such puzzling topics as near-death and out-of-body experiences, reincarnation theories, hypno-regression and automatic writing, and other phenomena of the seance room. Evidence is drawn from trance mediums, the writing of mystics, and clear hard facts reported by reliable eyewitnesses. So we'll be talking. He's written a book on this as well. So I don't know whether you fancy looking at the book, Andy.
Sure, absolutely.
We'll find out more. So that's what we've got on next week. So we hope that you'll join us again.
Of course, I'll be around. Definitely.
Okay. Right, I'll let you go then, Andy.
Okay.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
Yeah, so that's what we've got on next week, and we hope you've enjoyed this evening's show. Don't we, Steve?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, we do. We always do. So there isn't much Lionel hasn't done. I must agree with you there, David. So it is a joy to have on. So we'll be finding out a bit more about that and what he feels, what his theories are and everything, because they obviously have investigated this thoroughly. And don't forget, if you have any suggestions for anyone to come on the show, we will discuss any specific phenomena in this area, including ghosts, monsters, psychic phenomena, and other supernatural and unexplained mysteries. Remember, this is your show too, so get involved. And as we said before, we hope you've enjoyed tonight, and we look forward to having your company again next Sunday at 8 p.m. on www.ktpf.co.uk. Paul, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me. It has been really interesting.
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, loved it.
So would you come back on if you came back on again?
Oh,
and you got to speak to his hero.
Yeah. And you got to speak to your hero.
I'll have to get a question in German next, I think.
I don't know.
Don't do that, because he might answer it in German. Then
yeah,
we
probably will. Yeah,
we would definitely be buggered.
And then we'll be buggered.
I don't know. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. Straight from work as well.
Yeah.
So get you to get off and get yourself settled for the rest of the evening, what's left of it. Thank you for listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show, guys. We're recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication, and sponsored by Craignos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, let me hand that over to Steve.
Nick me job.
I just ran into it, sorry.
Sponsored by Craignos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales.
Let me get rid of that.
For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including fright nights, all-night investigations, and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
Now, thank you. I've got rid of it now, so I won't go into it automatically. So I'm glad you enjoyed the show, everybody, and thank you for your questions. We always welcome your questions for our guests. Thank you, Aggie, for saying it's a brilliant show. We do our best, as I say. We are a relaxed show, but we try our best to bring people to you in the know, and so we can all learn, isn't it, Steve?
It is. Like we always say, being guests on, most of the time we know absolutely nothing about them.
Yes.
Until the week before, and then we do a bit of
research,
and we always learn something, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, we can always take something away from the program, can't we?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks again, and till next time, all that's left to say is keep the paranormal friendly. Good night, guys. God bless.
This is where it's at.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.